Alright, this video is going to be a little reminder video of polynomial long division. And we're going to go through two examples. So the first example is we're going to do 2x to the third plus 5x squared minus x plus 6, and we're going to divide it by x plus 3. So the first thing you want to do is set up the problem. And then put this out front. So the first question I'm going to ask myself is x multiplied by what is going to give me 2x to the third. So on the top I'm going to write 2x squared. And that's because when I multiply these two, I get 2x to the third. Once I figure out what number is multiplied on the top to get that 2x to the third, then I'm going to go ahead and take this number up here and distribute it to both of these things and write it down here. So 2x squared times x is 2x to the third. 2x squared times 3 is 6x squared. And then what we do next is we are going to subtract these things. So I'm going to draw the line underneath because I'm about to subtract. And since I'm subtracting both of these things, I'm going to change the sign of each of them. So change that, change that. Now, if you did it correctly, these will always go to 0. Always. Alright. For here we have 5x squared minus 6x squared is negative x squared. And then I'm going to go ahead and drop down the next term, negative x. Alright, now I'm asking myself the same question again. X multiplied by what is negative x squared? And the answer is negative x. So that's what goes up here. And then I'm going to go ahead and distribute this to the two pieces in the front. So negative x multiplied by x is negative x squared. Negative x multiplied by 3 is negative 3x. And then I'm going to go ahead and draw my line underneath and change both of the signs because I'm subtracting, so it would be the opposite sign. And again, these go to 0, which is a good sign. That's what I wanted. And negative x plus 3x is 2x. And then I'm going to drop down the next number. Alright, so next I have to ask myself, what multiplied by x is going to get me to 2x? And the answer is 2. So I'm going to write plus 2 over here. So 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 3 is 6. And so I'm going to draw the line underneath and change the signs. And I end up getting 0 here, which is what I wanted. And I actually get 0 here as well, which just means that I don't have any remainder to the problem at all. So when you divide those things, your final answer is going to be 2x squared minus x plus 2. And I do need you to write your answer down and show me that you know that's your final answer, as opposed to just leaving this and letting me interpret what your final answer is. I need you to write it for me. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and do one more example. So this one is going to be 6x to the fourth minus 3x to the third minus 17 halves x minus 5, and we're dividing this one by 2x minus 3. So the first thing I'm going to do is figure out what should go underneath the division symbol. And here you have to be careful because you have to make sure that you hit all of your exponents. And you will notice we didn't have an x squared, so I'm going to put a 0x squared in there. And then I'll go ahead and continue with the rest of it, like that. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same process that I did last time. So 2x multiplied by something is 6x to the fourth. And what that would be is 3x to the third. And I'm going to take that and distribute it to each piece. So 3x to the third multiplied by 2x is 6x to the fourth. 3x to the third multiplied by negative 3 is negative 9x to the third. And then I'm going to go ahead and draw my line underneath and change my signs because I'm subtracting. And these subtract to 0, which is how I know I'm doing it right. And then 6x to the third is what I get there. and I'll drop down my next term. And then I'm going to do the process again. So 2x multiplied by something to get 6x to the third is going to be positive 3x squared. And then I'm going to go ahead and distribute that. So 3x squared multiplied by 2x is 6x to the third. And 3x squared multiplied by negative 3 is negative 9x squared. And I'll go ahead and draw my line underneath and change each of the signs. And so these add up to 0, which is good. And 0x squared and 9x squared is 9x squared. And then I'll go ahead and drop down the next term. I'm a little bit nervous about that fraction coming up. Okay, now this one's kind of tricky because you have to ask yourself, 2x multiplied by what is 9x squared? And the answer for that is that it's going to be 2x multiplied by 9 over 2x. Because if you think about, let's do it over here. I don't know if you can see that. There we go. The 2's are going to cancel like that, and we would just have 9x squared. So anytime you're trying to get a number to multiply to something it doesn't multiply to very well, that means you're going to have fractions there. All right. So we have 2x multiplied by 9 over 2x, and that's going to give us 9x squared, which is good. And then if we do 9 over 2x multiplied by negative 3, 9 times negative 3 is negative 27, so we have negative 27 over 2x, like that. And I'm going to go ahead and draw my line underneath and change both of my signs. Alright, so these add up to 0, which is really good. And then these ones right here, if I have positive 27 over 2 and negative 17 over 2, that gives me 10 over 2, right? And 10 over 2 simplifies to just 5, thank goodness. So that's a much nicer number than I thought we were going to have. And drop down the next one. And then of course we can't deal with the fractions just once, we have to do this again. So 2 multiplied by something is 5x. And the number there is going to be 5 over 2. And that's because 5 over 2 multiplied by 2, those would cancel and you would just get 5. So up here we're going to put plus 5 over 2. And then if I go ahead and distribute that, 5 over 2 multiplied by 2x is 5x. And 5 over 2 multiplied by negative 3 is negative 15 over 2. Yep, minus 15 over 2. And change the signs. So this adds up to 0. 15 halves is like 7.5, and 7.5 take away 5 is 2.5. So we'll go ahead and write that as 5 halves, like that. Okay. Now, if you have a remainder here, that remainder is still being multiplied by this. So I'm going to write plus, and then I'm going to put the remainder over the 2x minus 3, like that. So my final answer for here is going to be 3x to the third plus 3x squared plus 9 over 2x plus 5 over 2 plus, and then technically it's not really correct to have that fraction over a fraction. So the bottom of this 2, it goes down to the bottom actually. So we can write this as 5 over 2 and then keep the denominator like that. And to be honest, like I'm not going to give you ones that are this complicated. You're going to have problems where you have to figure out what fraction it is. That's why I liked this example. But we're not going to have remainders that are complicated like that we're actually going to have to work with.